Throughout Deland McCullough's football career, his path often crossed with his mentor, Sherman Smith. Smith first recruited and coached Deland in college, setting high expectations for the young player who would go on to play in the NFL and Canadian Football League. Deland later went on to become a running backs coach, the same position Coach Smith held himself. Deland had been placed for adoption as an infant, and as he learned more about his biological family as an adult, he realized his connection with Smith was even closer than he could ever imagine. Deland McCullough and his biological mother, Carol Briggs, are here in studio to share their incredible story. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yep. And it's all now documented in this incredible book. It's called Runs in the Family, an incredible story of football, fatherhood, and belonging. Beautiful book. And I want to start out by reading. I've had the chance to read this book, and so many emotions. And I want to start with this part, if it's okay. Hello. Carol's voice was nervous but kind. Deland felt his whole body warm up when he heard it. He was standing in the rays of the brightest, yellowest sun you've ever seen. I'm sure you're wondering what's going on, Deland said. He paused, and then, I'm John. Carol couldn't keep the tears in. It was really him. He told her he'd been looking for her. She told him she'd been looking for him too. Praying to find him, praying to learn that he was okay. This was really happening. Deland took a deep breath and let the tears flow. My tears were flowing when I read this. Tell me walk us through to that moment when you got that call.
Well, it was a regular evening after work, and I unmuted my phone, and, the preliminary part of it when, he sent me the text, that infamous text. But when he called me that evening, by then I had done countless Google searches and all kinds of things. And I said, if someone is trying to trick me here, they've gone through a lot of effort because this guy is everywhere on the internet. So this must be real.
And you became somewhat of a private investigator. You knew you were adopted at a young age, about 7 years old?
Yes.
But it took you until you were 44 to finally find your biological parents. Why did it take so long?
Well, I really didn't look until probably a few years before I found out. So, just like it talks about in the book, there was so many things going on just in my life and just things that was going on that I really didn't take the time to say, look, I'm about to try to find my biological family.
And it was changes in adoption laws that did convince you to do that in Pittsburgh.
Yes. So once I started looking, I got linked onto a House bill in Pittsburgh that was in the process of going through. So then I said, let me just follow that. And that'll the breadcrumbs were already laid out, and I would do all the work for me.
And it's something similar here in Nevada where you as the adoptee can get your records. And let's talk about, that almost took a year to get those records. When you finally got that birth certificate, what was going through your mind?
Well, the ironic part is that day, it was in March that I sent for the information. And I didn't think about it again until November. I was sitting there at work, and it just hit me. I said, I wonder what's going on with this adoption paperwork. And then when I got home that night, it was there. So it was a lot of emotions. I wasn't prepared because I didn't know it's coming next week. Let me get my mind together. It just came, and it just a wave of emotion hit me. And then once I seen her name, I said, I need to find her.
Yeah. And there was an important piece missing, an important part of information that was missing, your father's name.
Father's name was not on there. And I'd heard that, growing up, my adopted mom, Adele, I said, she knew that, all she knew was it was a younger couple. Now I didn't, obviously once I got all the information, I seen them, my dad's name was not on there.
And Carol, why did you make that decision not to tell the biological father?
Well, I was only 16. He had already gone away to college. He was a fantastic athlete in high school and had gotten a lot of offers to go to school. And our school was very small, so him to be recruited and wooed like he was to go to all these colleges was a big deal. So, I said, well, he's already gone, and, he'd have to come back and, I didn't know what impact it was going to have on his life. So I said, well, I'll just make this decision.
So you did ask her, what, 6 minutes into that conversation, that call, you finally asked, and how did that, what happened next?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty blown away. I mean, we're having a great conversation. I asked her.
And it felt like you knew each other, right?
Yes. I mean, it was no like, okay, let's feel this out. We just
Yeah.
jumped into it and started talking. It was a great conversation. The question I asked before I asked who my dad was, I said, well, I have any brothers and sisters? Because once she had identified that she was in Youngstown, I'm like, oh, shoot, that opened up a whole lot of things. She was only 10 minutes away from where I live, which was, well, you couldn't, that was just ridiculous. And then I said, do I have any brothers and sisters? She said, no. And then I just kind of flippantly asked, I said, well, shoot, who's my dad? And she told me.
And what did you tell him?
I said, your father's name is Sherman Smith.
And when she said that, I crumbled because I said,
and you fell to the floor, literally.
Yeah, I was going up these steps and I just kind of plopped down and she said, what's wrong? She could hear it in my voice. And I said, oh, I know him. So Coach Smith he recruited me and he was my coach.
And I do want to go back to, he recruited you when you were in high school. And there's this is so many emotions. There's some funny parts in here. Tell me about that, how he drove up in that cherry
candy apple red Mercedes. So I didn't even know it was him. I was in English class. I looked down. We just see the car. Me and a couple of my buddies, we just see the car. And a few minutes later, I get called to the office. And it was him, and it was like a movie. He was facing towards our coach. And he turned around, and it was like really cinematic when I think back on it. Even then, because I'd never really met a person like him. And he said, I'm Sherman Smith, running back coach for Miami University.
Fate bringing you together. And he remained in your life for so many years.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So, I mean, he obviously recruited. The reason I went to Miami was him. I'd never seen a person like that, been around a person like that who came from where I came from. Yeah. So I was immediately drawn to him. I mean, ultimately, he left Miami and he moved on in his career, went to the University of Illinois, then he went on to the NFL. But we stayed in contact forever. We stayed in contact all the way up until all of this happened.
And there's also a Pete Carroll connection, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so in 2014, I'm the running back coach at Indiana University, and I'm doing these minority internships, and I reached out, and he said, yeah, I want you to come up here and do an internship. They had just won their first Super Bowl, I believe. And here I am. I go up there and I'm with him, at the Seattle internship, and it was just funny. All these little sub stories in there where we were in a staff meeting and Pete was going through his thing. And he just stopped in the middle of the staff meeting and said, something is going on here. And he just pointed. He said, we're watching you two guys at practice yesterday. He said, you guys walk the same, point the same. He just made a big joke of it. And me and my Coach Smith at the time, we was just like, whatever, we don't know, but people seen it.
And let's talk about when you did reach out to Coach Smith. That call didn't go as you would have hoped.
Initially, no. Initially, no, because I was so excited. Yes, I've been enamored with wanting to know who my biological family was all my life. So when I told him, I really didn't expect him to call me back. I texted him. I thought he was going to text me back, but he called, and I just jumped on, and I jumped right into it. And when I told him, he was pretty blown away. He said, yes, I do know Carol. And maybe a minute later, he said, look, I need to get off the phone with you. I need to process this.
Yeah. And Carol, you also had a conversation.
I did. So after Deland had his conversation with Sherman that day, he called me. I'm at work. Yeah. So he calls me and he says, well, my dad wants to talk to you. Well, I'm thinking, okay, this whole thing's going to go down between the two of them. And I'm going to stay out of it. But now I got to get involved now. So I cried the whole day. I cried the whole morning waiting for Sherman to call me. But Sherman called, and he was such a gentleman. Yeah. And he was so understanding, and we talked, we grew up in the same neighborhood, we went to high school together, he graduated with my brother. So we talked about family, we talked about what's going on in the world, we talked about everything before he says, well, okay, you know why I called you.
Yeah.
But, and I was so afraid that he would have some real negative feelings towards me about not telling him something like this. But he was wonderful.
Your families were so accepting. Like you said, he understood your decision, why you didn't tell him, Coach Smith.
Yes.
Your lovely wife, your kids helped find her on Facebook.
Well, I mean, you know, as far as the finding part, as soon as I got the original birth record, my son and my wife were kind of messing around. So then, when, you know, later that night when I was in the bed, me and my wife were just kind of looking, and, you know, ended up, you know, the next day I ended up finding her. You know, so I mean, I was just, and the crazy part is just how fast it happened. You would think, okay, it's going to take you a while. Carol Briggs, I mean, it's not. I mean, you would think there's a lot, and there probably are a lot of those out there. But just when I did my search, within a few minutes, I found it.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was.
It really, really
was.
was. And I do have to bring this up, Carol, because it's important. Your mother, before she passed, she told you. What did she tell you?
In the years leading up to her passing away, before she got sick or anything, every now and then, every couple months or so, you know, she said, you know, you ought to try to find out where that boy is. And, you know, at the time, first off, there was no Facebook even then. But there's no Facebook. There was no way that I could track him down. There were sites out there where you could put your information out there. You know, you had a baby in this date in this area and, you know, different things. Hope that someone on the other side was looking and would say, oh, that sounds like me. Maybe I should research this some more. But other than that, there was really nothing for me to go with.
And I read the part about the call. Again, you have to get this book. Another part that had me crying like a little baby, because I'm very emotional, was when you finally did meet for the first time. Walk us through that.
Oh, our meeting. Oh, okay.
Look at that smile, says it all. There were a lot of happy tears, right?
We couldn't stop touching each other for starters, because the last time I had, don't make me cry. The last time I saw him, he was not even 24 hours old. So to see him, you know, pull up in my driveway and walk in my house that day, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was very, as in his words, it was very emotional.
And to hug her and hold her.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was blown away. You know, I mean, it's just when I seen her, I was like, oh my goodness. You know.
And I do have to. There's another very important person in this story. We have to talk about Adele.
Yes, I mean, you know, the heavy lifting of my life,
Yes.
you know, was done by her, and I make no qualms about it. I wasn't the easy guy to raise, you know.
Well, you turned out okay.
Yeah, I wasn't the easy guy to raise, and she, you know, God put her in my life because she had the demeanor in her hand. She had the heavy enough hand to redirect and get me back on the track that I need to. Because there's so many times that if I didn't have a person like her in my life, or didn't have her, that I would have went off the cliff, you know, per se. So I mean, you know, nothing but extreme love and respect for how she raised me and helping me get to the point where I am.
And your message to Adele?
Oh, I am eternally grateful for, you know, the wonderful job that she did raising him, because my only concern over all of this period was just to know that he was okay, that he had turned out to be a good person. And like Sherman told me on the phone call, and I told him that, I just want to know that he's okay. And Sherman said, I can assure you, your son is better than okay. He is better than okay, and he's someone that you would love to have a relationship with.
And I love that you all have a close relationship now. It's beautiful, all your
It
families
is. It is
family
wonderful.
reunions and all.
It is wonderful. It's wonderful.
And the hope is that this book gets made into a movie. So I need to ask you both. It's in the process, right? You have some big names attached to it. I can't talk about that just yet.
Right.
Okay, so who do you envision portraying you up on that big screen? Because this needs to be made, and it will be made. Las Vegas is on a mission to become Hollywood 2.0. So any studio execs watching this, I have your next project. All right, go, Carol.
From the very beginning, I have chosen Taraji P. Henson to play me from the very beginning, because aside from her current projects, where, you know, she's just so big and such a big personality in her movies, she is very smart, you know, and she actually had a child when she was young. You know, she moved to Hollywood, she had a child with her, and she had nothing.
Yes.
So I see where she could have a lot of empathy and understanding for a role like this.
I see the resemblance. All right, Taraji. All right, and how about you, Deland?
I really don't know. I mean, you see things, you know, yeah, in a perfect world, Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, let's go.
You know
let's
what?
do it.
I
you know?
will not lie to you. That's the first person that came to my mind.
Really?
I'm looking in your eye. Yep.
So,
All right, there
you
you
know,
go. Michael B. Jordan and Taraji.
There we go. I'll take that. I got some recency bias there, but I like his movies and I like, you know, the interviews with him. He's a good guy.
It is an honor to be sitting next to the both of you. Thank you for sharing your incredible story, and good luck with the season first game against the Seahawks. Preseason game.
Yeah, it's
All
going to
right.
be interesting. It's going to be fun.
Thank you both.